Hello everybody and welcome back to F1 23 with me, Dan, and the Slothz team. As we get underway with the second week of my team career mode. We've got 3 races coming up this week, and those will be Spain today, Canada tomorrow, and finally on Thursday we will have Austria, including the sprint race for Austria as well. For the time being though, if anyone else is playing this game, don't forget to comment down below. Are you enjoying it so far? I certainly am having more fun on this one than I ever did on F1 22, and probably on par with F1 2020/21, because they were essentially just the same game but had fairly adequate handling models, as we get another double failure on the R&D there for some unnecessary components on the power unit. Also good news, if you are a fan of the co-op career mode, guess what? We've filmed 2 races of that so far. We're going to go for a full season, all 26 races, to just see if we can get the full experience out of that. And you may have seen on Sunday we actually live streamed that. We may do it Monday as well. So far it is Sunday and I'm yet to make that live stream happen on the Sunday evening. So whether or not I did it on Monday as well remains to be seen. I'll just have to find out when I listen back to this later on. Anyway, continuing on then with that, we didn't have enough points to start up the front wing flaps, so we just went for the stators to get a little bit of a better ERS deployment, because that's something that we're lacking quite significantly, particularly when we have to do quite a few laps of chasing around after faster cars. We're also increasing the difficulty. I believe at this point we're up to 90, just 90, which is 10 above where I ever got to on F1 22. I think primarily the handling model and the curbs that just sent you off into the shadow realm were completely to blame there, because I don't think it's a skill issue at this point. Otherwise I would really be struggling with this game, and I'm just not. In fact, I'm at this point all the way up on skill level 100, which we'll get to at the Canadian Grand Prix. And even then, it still might not be enough. So, yeah, interesting times with this game. Definitely improving, personally, and also having a lot of fun on here. I've not done too much of the F1 World just yet. Only 2 of like the entry series, just when I had 5 minutes spare to do those, and absolutely crashed the AI, because we've got legendary upgrades for everything pretty much already, based on podium pass, XP boost and things that we got with the Champions Edition. So a little bit pointless, but I'm yet to come up to a decision as to whether or not that was really a worthwhile feature. We'll have to see. Anyway, we're finishing off practice now, and we've got one more thing to do before we head over to the race, and that is to pick up that front wing flap upgrade. Alright then we're off to the Spanish Grand Prix. Now this is going to be an interesting race, because this is one that I particularly struggled with when it came to F1 22. And in fact, thinking back to it, I have a feeling that most of the races ended up with somebody in much faster cars, usually the Mercedes, the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, all shooting off into the distance, and then my car being pretty much stuck in P6, maybe a little bit higher if there's any retirements. So much better race I have today, and don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you get to find out when all of these are uploaded, and watch them straight away as well. Onto the starting grid then for the Spanish Grand Prix, and there's the proof in the pudding. Radiant Slothz sitting on pole position alongside Lewis Hamilton, strangely, after the day 1 patch. George Russell and Carlos Sainz follow, then Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc and Kevin Magnussen, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris round up the top 10, followed by Esteban Ocon, Valtteri Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly, Nico Hulkenberg and Lance Stroll, Joe Guanyu, Alex Albon, Jack Doohan and Logan Sargent, and finally it's Nick De Vries and Yuki Tsunoda who picks up a penalty. And for anybody that's still wondering, yes, the person in P20 is still read out in the P22 slot as well, because great game design. There's a quick flash up of our results so far. We've already had 1 win, and things are looking good for us today, given that we're on pole position for this race as well. And no overpowered Lando Norris in the same car as us. like it was on F122. And there we are, switching up the livery again there, just like between the different paint styles, just until I find one I like. But there, I think we're with metallic. Right then, it's time for 5 red lights in Spain. We've struggled here before, but we're on pole for this Grand Prix, and we're only a couple of races into the season already, and we're away with a massive lead being pulled over Lewis Hamilton within the first few meters of the Grand Prix. Look at that gap to us. Clearly, at this point, 90 difficulty is not low and is not high enough for us to have a very realistic experience out here. We should be down in 20th with Jack Doohan, but we're actually all the way up here in pole position. Lewis Hamilton now closing up through turn 3, manages to close up, but makes a mistake going through 4, which costs him a little bit more time. So clearly, good in a straight line, good off the start, as I think a few people are starting to find out, but in a cornering situation, not so good. Let's watch Hamilton here as he watches us disappear into the distance. And down towards turn 1, this is where we'll start to see him catch up as he gets on the brakes. We're struggling because our aero is not quite up to scratch yet. There we go. Big gain there. Big gain here through turn 3. And he starts to close up with the straight as well. I guess I did have ERS turned off at this point because I was so far ahead. And for some reason thought that there was a gap there to go through. And it ultimately cost him. Rejoining on lap 2 then. Of all of the front runners, we're the only one running the medium in the top 5. All of the others are on hard tyres, but realistically have much faster cars. So we'll have to try and defend from them as we go quite wide there out of turn 4. Lewis Hamilton will be looking to make a move around the outside of us here. There is his front wing, and he's going to hang on to it now. We're going to challenge him. Our acceleration far superior as we go into the uphill S. But he manages to get ahead of us. So the only thing that we can do here is to try and get round this corner as quickly as possible and try and take that position back either here or on the pit straight. And it looks like the pit straight is going to be where we're going to have to try and take him. Not that that worked though. We're on the same bit of track now, but with the DRS 1 lap later. And look how much we're closing up on Lewis Hamilton now as we come into the final sector. Massive improvement to this track with the the reprofiled hairpin that we just went round from the previous game, and then this here, this flat out right-hander, very fun to drive round, I will admit. This bit, amazing having to brake here. It's not something that we're used to. But look, we pick up fastest lap with a 1:15.9. We go round the outside of Lewis Hamilton and retake the lead of the Grand Prix. And once again, clearly the difficulty level that we're on here is way too low for us. Look how far back it is to P3 with Carlos Sainz. And even now, just a few laps later, Lewis Hamilton almost a second behind us as we get another fastest lap crossing the start-finish line. And that's pretty much how it went for the next few laps. We're rejoining here at the end of lap 8, coming onto the pit straight. I think at this point I was just slowing down because I had nothing to do at the front of the field. This must be how Max Verstappen has felt in recent times. As we get 5 cars challenging for the lead now, down into turn 1. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead. We've got the Red Bulls of Verstappen and Perez battling away in the background as well. Verstappen has come out on top of that situation, and now the home favourite, potentially home favourite, Carlos Sainz, lines up behind us in the Ferrari. The other Ferrari of Charles Leclerc is nowhere to be seen. He's all the way down in the bottom reaches of the top 10. And again, coming around the flat right-hand corner, we're going to peel off into the pit lane, actually bouncing over something there as we came in. We're followed in by Max Verstappen, who is very close behind us somehow. He'll peel off into his box, and we're rolling out the hard tyre for the second half of the stint. Unfortunately, the 35% race not providing quite the exciting strategy that I was hoping for just yet. New tyres are on, and away we go. And I think we're just about going to come out, yes, ahead of Max Verstappen before we barrel into the back of the safety car. And where are we going to come out relative to these guys? There's Logan Sargent and Nick De Vries coming through. And both of us managed to clear the Williams and the AlphaTauri. Bottas who also came in, seems to be a little bit further back still. And here we go. We've now got a very angry Max Verstappen on the medium tyre. He's going to go to the right-hand side of us and take away what will hopefully be net P1 by the time we get round to the pit straight. We can see that one of the Mercedes and Perez have already come in as well. Hopefully our, I guess it's not really an undercut here because we were already leading, but hopefully we'll stay ahead. Verstappen gaining a massive advantage there with his aero package, his chassis package. And there they are, there's Sergio Perez, and there is Lewis Hamilton. He has managed to gain some time, and we've got the DRS of Verstappen. We go down the inside of the two-time world champion. We can make contact there with the front of his car. That was a bit close for comfort, thinking that we were a little bit further ahead of him than that, but neither of us appear to be too phased by that. Let's watch the replays here. This was Verstappen getting by us earlier on with very little difficulty whatsoever. And then this was the onboard of turn 1. Up the inside we go, and then we just peeled across a little bit too early there and ended up banging our wheel against this front wing. But even though we're on simulation damage, it's not caused a massive problem for him. And once again, he is sat behind us. We've got no DRS. He's going to go sailing past and take P2 away from us. Lewis Hamilton up ahead, controlling the pace for now. Sergio Perez up to 4th. Carlos Sainz, big loser, dropped out down to 5th, but he has since gotten past Sergio Perez. As Max Verstappen now, as we start lap 17, challenges for the lead. He gets past the Mercedes with relative ease before we even get to the braking zone. And now it will hopefully be our turn as the Mercedes begins to slow down. Ideally, both of these cars will start to use up some of that grip on the medium tyre before the end of the race, and we'll be able to take advantage on our hard tyre. Here we are on lap 20. We've got 3.5 laps to go. Verstappen still leads from Hamilton and then us. A massive gap of 5 seconds back to Carlos Sainz. George Russell, who has since inherited P5 away from Sergio Perez, potentially an issue there. And behind them, it looks as though the other Ferrari of Charles Leclerc has managed to approach the mid top 10 in the closing stages of the race. So what can we do here against Hamilton and Verstappen? We've got 3 laps to go to try and get past at least one of them. The DRS is open and we're deploying the ERS. We saved enough of it up over the past few laps. Hamilton's going to go defensive to the inside. We're gaining rapidly on Max Verstappen. We're going to get into the perfect line here, go round the outside into turn 1 and take away the second slot of the podium from Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen now just has to defend for 2 more laps. This is Hamilton's onboard, very defensive to the inside, has to slow down way more than we do, and we're able to just fly around the outside without any issues whatsoever. And now Max Verstappen is vulnerable. Hamilton's dropped back slightly as we run slightly deep there into the end of the DRS zone. Bit of a slide. And there's confirmation that Valtteri Bottas has just retired over in the start sector 2. But what can we do? We're 6 tenths down on the Red Bull going into the final corner. We've got 2 laps to go. DRS deployed, ERS deployed as well. The Red Bull still quick in a straight line, but what can he do? Absolutely nothing to defend from us. And we get past the Red Bull again. He's going to defend it though into turn 1 maybe. No, he does back out. But he has decided to tailgate us. Here's his onboard, watching us go flying by, and I guess he just held it yet later on the brakes than we were, and found an opportunity which slowly closed up. And now we've just got 1 lap to go, so we come round for the final time. Well, I say the final time, we've got 1 more time to go around it. 1 more lap to go then. Max Verstappen has the DRS. We're going defensive to cause him to run off onto the dirty part of the track. He's cutting back to the racing line. We've survived 1 DRS zone. Up through turn 1 we go into turn 2 and now 3. Verstappen should close up here. So will Hamilton. But it's all down to what we can do on the straights as to whether or not we can keep this position. Also, all of that ERS energy that we saved up and didn't use getting past these two will be deployed here. And it seems to be working, although they will be deploying it too. We're pulling away from the Red Bull of Max Verstappen as we come up the hill now through the S's. Easy to spin the car there, but we're through onto the DRS straight. Where is Verstappen? We don't have split times anymore. We don't know how far back he really is, but he does have the DRS. He's not managed to get close enough, but he may still have a chance if we make a mistake through the final few corners around the long right-hander into the double right-hander we go. And we're way ahead of Verstappen now as we come down through the final corner and sprint to the finish line. And that is a second victory in our career mode, completely unintentionally, because at this point we're expected to be fighting for about P6 in every single race. So things will be changing very, very soon. I think we just got rear-ended actually by someone on the in-lap. But things will be changing very, very soon, trying to make it a bit harder for us and make this a little bit more realistic. Apparently I've completely underestimated my own skills here in F1 23, especially on this new handling model. We skip across the podium because we're that happy. Once again, looking very unimpressed with the same generic trophy, which has been dished out yet again. And look at that, we've got Lewis Hamilton on the podium again, and he's been vacant in the past few games. And here we are with the final results. Of course, we picked up the win, but Max Verstappen got the fastest lap in P2, followed by Lewis Hamilton. Behind us, we had Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso, and Pierre Gasly. Onto the Drivers' Championship, then Max Verstappen still leads by 27 points over an unrealistic second for us. Behind us, we have Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso, and Esteban Ocon make up the top 10. Further down the order, we have Oscar Piastri, Lance Stroll, Nico Hulkenberg, Joe Guanyu, Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, Alex Albon, Valtteri Bottas round out the point scorers, then Nick De Vries, Kevin Magnussen, Jack Doohan, and Logan Sargent. And over to the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull remain at the top of the table, 70 points clear of Ferrari. Then it's a jump back to Mercedes in third, who are 2 points ahead of Slothz in fourth. Behind us, McLaren, Aston Martin, Alpine, Haas, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, and finally Williams, with all teams scoring points this season. That's all for this race. We'll catch you next time for Canada.